Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy New Year. Before we step into 2018, I wanted to thank you guys for all the love and support you've shown us in 2017. As we spend time with our families for the holidays, I wanted to share an oldie, but a goodie. Here's an episode from the Stuff for Movie Buffs vault. On this episode, the team and I share our favorite Christmas movies. Hope you enjoy, and don't forget to let us know your favorite Christmas movies of all time.
And now, your host, Couch Tomato!
Hey, I'm Couch Tomato, and I'm joined by...
Oh.
Welcome to Stuff for Movie Buffs. Today we're talking...
Christmas movies.
All right, before we even get into all of that, I need everybody out there, put their right hand on their heart, the left hand in the air. Repeat after me. Say, I am a movie fan.
Am a movie fan.
As a movie fan.
As a movie fan.
I won't get mad.
I won't get mad.
I can't get mad.
I can't get mad.
And I'll keep my anger to myself.
And I will keep my anger to myself.
All right, if this is your first time listening to the show, we start off every movie like that, mainly because I am a movie buff, Hulk's a movie buff as well. Sometimes, admittedly, we take movies a little too serious, especially around this time of year. It's really important that we engage in the Christmas spirit and we kind of leave our feelings aside and just share our love for movies. So that's what we'll be doing today. Speaking of the Christmas spirits, I have a couple of announcements before we actually get into the next section of our show. We did not have a podcast last week. Sorry about that, guys, but I had a baby, so sue me. Also, Hulk had some medical issues that he was dealing with, and I thought that it'll be best if we took a breather. So I thank you guys for being supportive on that with Facebook. Hulk, how are you feeling this week?
Great. 1,000%.
All right, good. I'm feeling, and same here, I'm feeling great too. I have this is my fourth edition.
Awesome, man. Blessings.
Kid-wise, so me and my wife, we're extremely blessed and happy. And other than our second child, all of them had allowed us to get a full night's rest. So she's following suit with her older sister. So that's been awesome. All right. Also, going forward, if there's ever a gap on the schedule, like we need to kind of take some time out, make sure to keep up with us on Facebook, because that's where we'll be posting that news and that update. Because this decision was a little bit last minute, and I'm sorry about that, guys. But we're doing a lot of posting there.
Oh, and Couch, thanks for posting the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer. Like, I had no idea it was dropping, and then like I saw it, I was just like, yes, like. Yeah,
it posted. Well, they did it yesterday. It was pretty slick, you know, because usually I don't remember Marvel posting like trailers and teasers on weekends or whatever.
Me either.
But yeah, this one kind of snuck up on me too. I was just on Facebook, and I'm like, what? So it looks awesome. So we posted that on Facebook too. Doing a lot of posting there. So that's a great way to keep up with us and also what's happening in the movie world. Also, each podcast now, with everything that's going on, I want to take some of the heavy lifting from us and pass that on to the fans. I think they can manage. But each podcast will either throw out a question or you guys could ask us questions depending on the topic that we'll be discussing. And we'll let you guys know like 5 days in advance on Facebook on what movies we'll be talking about or what are the topics. So this week we asked, what are your favorite Christmas movies? And it was last minute once again, but a couple of folks were able to respond. Also, if you haven't, go ahead and like us on Facebook and share your thoughts there on what are some of your favorite Christmas movies, because that's what we'll be talking about today. So usually we do a summary, Hulk, for people who don't know what we're talking about. But I don't think that's needed this week, because regardless of your religion, your movie preference, or if you believe in Santa Claus or not, I think everyone here and everyone listening has at least one favorite Christmas movie. Agree or disagree?
Agreed.
All right, good. So this is what we'll do. We'll list our top 3 movies and it just Christmas genre. Like I don't know what you're picking. You don't know what I'm picking, but we'll basically explain. We'll just kind of go from 3, 2, 1 and explain why that movie is our third, second, or favorite Christmas movie of all time. And then we'll share some honorable mentions at the end. Is that cool?
Sounds great.
All right, cool. Let's start off with number 3. Once again, I have not seen Hulk's list. Hulk hasn't seen mine. I think I could predict 1 out of 3 of yours.
Me too.
But I also think I'll probably kick one of yours out of the list.
Okay.
Yeah, so just make sure they have to be Christmas themed movies. So, all right. So, number 3, I'll let you do the honors and go first. What is your third favorite Christmas movie?
Okay, this is tough. I think because I've been debating back and forth. It's like, all right, I'm gonna go with Die Hard, number 3. Number 2 will be
No. Don't tell me number 2
oh,
yet.
okay.
Just tell me your number 3, and we'll talk about Die Hard. I'll tell you my number 3.
All right.
I could tell we're gonna do some double dipping. I'm not gonna tell you my number 3. I'll tell you my number 1 there because we both got the same movie. So we'll just talk about Die Hard. So spoiler alert: my number 1 favorite Christmas movie of all time, and it's actually one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time is Die Hard. So why is this your favorite Christmas movie? And for those people out there who haven't seen Die Hard, why should they watch Die Hard?
Because it's him versus the world, basically. Like, you have a guy, in a hotel, well, not even a hotel, like a building, corporate building, and
what was it, the Nakatomi building? I forgot how to say
it.
Nakatomi building, something like that.
Yeah. And it's like, he's going up against all these terrorists, and it's just like all he has is just his wits, like just his smart thing, get a few guns here and there, but for the most part it's just,
and he barely has smart. That. I mean, he's a regular average Joe, and when I was a little kid and I saw this movie, it just made me think the world of being a cop was so fun because I thought all detectives did that stuff. And I never knew about bomb,
exactly.
Like bomb squads and SWAT teams. I'm like, nah, detectives
run on
have
glass
fun.
with no shoes.
Yeah, but this is the movie that was the changing of the guard because it just so happens it's a Christmas movie, but it's really a solid action flick. It's before this, a lot of movies were based around superheroes like Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger. They were almost immortal humans in their films, and they just you never got the sense that they were mortal. The threat of death never existed to them. But when Die Hard came out, it took your average Joe and put him, gave him a badge. And these, Professor Snape's in there.
Oh yeah, one
of the best villains ever. In this, yeah. So definitely one top 3 movie for me all time, but definitely number 1 Christmas. I watch this movie every single December, and I watch it for no reason throughout the year. So I probably see it on average at a minimum, maybe 3 times a year. But yes.
Oh wow, that's more than
bro.
me.
Like I tell you, I love this movie though. Like real talk, like it made middle-aged men believable as action heroes, and I think this is a time when Sly, where kind of steroid jock looking, not superheroes but action heroes reign supreme, and then this guy with the receding hairline jumps on the scene with a dirty wife beater, no shoes, and he became one of my best action heroes of all time. So if you haven't seen it, now would be the perfect time to start. Solid Disney movie. Let me say my number 2. Once again, if this is part of your numbers, Hulk, just go ahead and cross it out and reveal it to the fans, and we'll get to honorable mentions. That's cool?
Okay.
All right. So, I cheated, but number 3 for me is and remember, I'm not doing a number 1 because you stole my number 1. But Home Alone 1 and 2, I'm putting them as one movie because I think it's unfair to mention one without the other, and I wasn't gonna load up my top 3 with 2 Home Alone movies. I just wasn't gonna do that. It wasn't fair. So I got Home Alone 1 and 2, my third favorite Christmas movies. Have you seen Home Alone 1 and 2, Hulk?
Of course.
Is that a classic? Is it probably one of the best Christmas movies ever made?
Absolutely. Like it's not Christmas without watching it. Like if I don't feel right if I don't watch it at least once.
And I think the thing I like about it is because remember I have a 7-year-old, I have a 4-year-old, I have a 2-year-old, and now I have a 0-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And I love movies, so naturally, sometimes I really try to push that agenda onto my kids to where I want them to be movie buffs as well. I'm not gonna force feed them movies, but if there's ever a good transitional film to really get them into loving movies during this time of year, it's Home Alone. So it's like, as a kid, when you watch it through kids' eyes, I always see the magic. Like whenever I introduce it to one of my kids, because now my daughter likes it because, Kevin, he's like a child's dream. Like he's talking back to his parents,
Yep.
which my kids aren't going to do, by the way. But also he's taking on bad guys, and it's kind of like Die Hard a little bit, and I did a video relating the two, but to a kid, that's really, really cool. And I think if you have some kids out there who hate movies, this is a great way to actually say, look, movies could be fun. By the way, Christmas movies could be great. And this is a movie that I grew up on. The music, I think, is like another thing I like to do during the holiday season is, set up my Pandora to my Christmas stations. And there's a couple of radio stations that I leave on in my car that play Christmas music throughout December. And I start listening to Christmas music the week of Thanksgiving to get in the holiday spirit.
Oh, it's awesome.
The soundtrack for this film is amazing. Yeah, and I can't remember which tracks are on 1 and 2, but I just know his playlist was on point when Kevin was home alone. So that the music is great. And at the time, I just remember Macaulay Culkin being a larger than life child star. So I remember these movies being really, really big and like blockbuster heavy, like equivalent to like what Harry Potter was when it came out. Yeah. We didn't have those type films, but we had you had the Steven Spielberg, Jurassic Park and stuff like that. But
like, especially like when you're in class and it's like the last day before break and then your teacher pops in Home Alone. It's just like, it was just like perfect for us ready to go on break. They popped
on Home Alone, but then there was one teacher who was just like a stickler. She turned it off. I don't know if somebody said a bad word in Home Alone. It was one of those words that you don't really count as bad, like, oh crap, and then the teacher was like, one more curse word and I'm shutting it off. Is there anything to do with like him flipping the bird or somebody in this movie? I don't know.
I'm trying to think did he say damn? Did he say...
He said something that was very innocent, and then she took it off. That was like my second grade teacher, but whatever. I still love her to this day. But I thought that was very weird, but definitely I think it's a must watch. And I'm talking about 1 and 2 interchangeably. So let me ask you this. Which one is better, 1 or 2?
1. Yeah. Like it just stands the test of time more than 2 to me.
You think so?
Like 2, yeah.
All right, good. And since you know what, I'm just not going to answer. I don't think it'll be fair. But I don't know how these movies did art, like on the site that should not be named wise. But when I looked back a year ago, I found out adults didn't like these films. Like I think it was just...
No, they didn't.
Yeah, so even Siskel and Ebert,
it was that like...
I don't know if they bashed both of them, but they bashed the second one definitely. And I always thought the second one was great.
Yeah, I know. Like on the site not to be named, it was at 55 with the critics, but then it was at like 79 with the audience. So,
are you talking about the first one or the second?
The first one. I don't know about the second one.
All right. See when I looked up the second, it did horrible. So I'm like, all right. So I didn't know that the first one wasn't a critical darling either. But I don't know. It's grown on them over the years, I would hope. So let's move on to my number 2. Oh, actually, let me hear your number 2.
My number 2 is Elf. It's the movie starring with Will Ferrell and James Caan. I don't know if you ever...
I know Elf, and I actually had it listed as an honorable mention. And this movie, I think my high school sweetheart put me on it. Like, she was the one that... She really loved this movie, and I just... At the time, I really didn't think it was all that. But going back, I was like, wow, it's actually... It's great. And not only that, like this movie is revered as one of the better comedies that's come out since like, the Y2K.
Yeah.
If we need to, not including that 90s and 80s stuff, but this is revered, not just, if you're not put Christmas aside, it's revered as one of the better comedies that have been released over the last 16 years.
Pretty smart. And then this is one of Will Ferrell's best jobs. Like he's not normally just doing his normal Will Ferrell type thing. You know what I'm saying? Like
their shtick.
Like yeah, and it's just like it just seems sort of formulaic. Like I've seen you do this joke before, but with this one, it felt like he was really in the character, and it was just hilarious. Like the whole premise was just smart.
That and also they paid homage to a lot of the old like stop motion claymation type Christmas movies. If you like they had these little segments where I forgot if it was a snowman or if it was an old man telling like pieces of the story or whatever, but it reminded me a lot of some of those classics that I grew up on. So that's a classic. That's one of my honorable mentions. It wasn't enough to make it into my top 3, but I can't be mad at you for that. I actually know what your number 1 is.
Really?
But
I'm
not. I know it because it's actually my number. Your number 1 is my number 2. I guarantee you that because your brother is the one that actually made me watch number 2. I spent I spent more than 25 years staying away from this movie. But what is your number 1 movie, Hope?
A Christmas Story.
My number 2 is A Christmas Story. I told you it would be the same. I didn't want to put this on my list because I'm like, you know what? I know Hulk's gonna do this one. But I didn't think you were going to put Die Hard. It's not crossing Die Hard for me, but I saw this movie like recently, Hulk. Like I've only seen this movie 2 years ago. And for me to be a movie buff, I stayed away from this movie. But I remember PD doesn't know movies. If you guys listen to some of our earlier podcasts, like PD's a close friend of ours and he doesn't know movies. And the thing is, when he suggested this film to me, he says, I think you would like Christmas Story because he knows I like coming of age movies. And then he mentioned your brother. He should have mentioned you, but he mentioned your brother is kind of like for me to put stock into that decision to watch it. He was like,
it's smart because my brother's the one that put me on it.
Okay, all right. So yeah, he says your brother watches this every Christmas, like multiple times, and he watches the marathon. And like the reason I stayed away from this film is because it seemed like spam. Because on Christmas, they show a marathon on TBS. I don't know if that's the only channel that does that, but TBS is one of the popular stations that all you could find, whether it's Christmas or Christmas Eve, they're showing that 24/7. They show that movie all day. There's nothing else but commercials and A Christmas Story. And to me, that's like going to a YouTube comment section and all you're seeing is the same person commenting over and over. I'm like, oh, this is spam. You can't force feed this to me. So I've always had this negative connotation with the movie. Secondly, I never thought it was relatable, and shame on me because I never even knew what the movie was about. But
yeah, from
the looks of it, the commercials, it seemed like it was based in the 40s. But it's a period piece. It was actually made in the 80s, but it's telling the story of the 40s. And I'm like, ain't no way I'm watching a movie and this is a younger me talking, but ain't no way I'm watching a movie from the 40s and that's going to be relatable to my Christmas. I'm like, no thanks. So I passed on it. And when I finally watched it like 2 years ago, I watched it like 3 times in one day. It's amazing. Like it can't leapfrog Die Hard to me because that part is just an amazing part of my childhood. But A Christmas Story is probably the best Christmas movie in my opinion. So it's not a better movie than Die Hard, but it's a better Christmas movie. Just not my favorite, but it's my second.
Yeah, like I remember my brother just like, yo, you gotta watch this. I was like maybe 10, 11 years old. Like just the whole character, just relate to him. Like as a kid, like you want out.
Yeah, like I'm Haitian and Haitians are very cheap.
Yes,
They'll find an excuse not to give you something, and for them to say you'll shoot your eye out, and it ended up being true. It's a poor guy, but it just reminded me so much of my Christmases. Like, and it's funny, like watching it as an adult now, you realize it's not really the toy, but it's the experience that you love, like beating up bullies and stuff like that. Maybe not a Christmas memory, but I just remember going up against bullies in my neighborhood. I remember doing dares that got somebody in trouble, and no matter what, you couldn't snitch. Like when his homeboy licked the pole and got stuck, and nobody wanted to, tell the truth on what happened. I remember just different stuff, not wanting to eat your food, saying a bad word in front of your parents out of like reflex, because you cursing at school, and then you like when you get in front of your mom, you try to act like you're an angel, and he cursed in front of his dad. I thought that part was hilarious, how the mom treats you versus how the dad treats you. Just different stuff. Like that movie was just genius.
Yeah, and that's why it's standing the test of time. Like it's going on 33 years.
It's older than me. It was made in 83.
Yeah, it's 33 years now. Like, and it's just gonna continue on.
Bro, that's crazy.
Yeah,
and it gets introduced to a new generation all the time. I introduced my nephew to it the same time I was introduced to it, which was 2 years ago. My daughter likes it because of the memorable quotes. She probably won't be able to tell you the name. She'll say, "Can we watch You'll Poke Your Eye Out?"
Yeah.
Or can we watch, like stuff like that. So and also the Ovaltine, boy. When I tell
For
you,
real.
I fell for that type of stuff when I was a kid. I just remember Fox 29 had this mail and rebate promotion. Not mail. It was not a. It wasn't a mail and rebate. It was something where you you mail a postcard for a chance to win a shopping spree with Sinbad. Because that, that never happened, but I made my mom waste so much money on postage. And he kind of did the same thing on making his parents buy Ovaltine. But if I had to suggest one movie, because I probably got a younger fan base out there as well, and their parents will get mad if I suggest Die
That's without a
Hard,
doubt.
Christmas Story is the one that you have to watch. Let's get to some fun part, the fun part now. You ready for these honorable mentions?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. Let me hear some movies that you left off your list, but definitely deserved to be in your top 10 if we extended the list.
Family Man?
I seen it once. I'll probably never see it again. It wasn't a bad movie. Just wasn't a classic to me. I just remember one weekend I had free stars, and that's the movie that they ended up choosing for me to renew my subscription. It didn't work, but I saw Family Man once. Wasn't Don Cheadle in there too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like, to me, I liked it. Like I fell in love with it. I was just like, wow, because you know how Nicolas Cage is, like his moments. So I was like, let's go and watch this movie. And then as I was watching, I just started, getting into it. Like, I liked the premise of it, and then I don't know, it just, like, ever since then, it just really showed me, like, it stayed with me a little bit. It really me the importance of having a family as a man one day. Like, for me personally. So, like, I just always liked that aspect of it. So. Like the Family Man, like, yeah, I would definitely like check that out.
Before you get into more of your honorable mentions, shout out to Dominic Curro. Like I said, I sent this out last minute, but Dominic is probably my most active fan on social media. Well, Facebook, I want to say. Like, I'm always in the comment sections with him, but I asked these guys what were your favorite Christmas movies on Facebook, and I'm anxious to hear you guys. I do care about what you guys think. I'm going to share Dominic's. From the image that I posted, which I told him do not stick to the image, he listed Frosty, A Christmas Story, Charlie Brown is a good one, the Grinch cartoon, and Home Alone. So he Home Alone, I'm with him on there. The Grinch cartoon, a classic. That movie is just extra long. I don't know if it was because I was a kid. I just remember that movie being longer than The Jacksons and American Dream. So also, he wanted to bring up Gremlins, which made my honorable mention. A Nightmare Before Christmas. So he keeps going on and on and on and on. So shout out to Dominic Curro and Ryan Porter Wilson, Die Hard. And he listed that first. So I see you, bro. Fist pump through the computer or whatever device you're listening to. Gremlins, he got that. Nightmare Before Christmas. Bad Santa as an honorable mention. So some of these guys stole my thunder on what honorable mentions I'm going to select. But if once again, head out to the Facebook page and show us some love there and tell us what you think. But go ahead, Hulk. But let me hear some more of your honorable mentions and I'll jump in. What's up?
Okay, this is like it's like a guilty pleasure honorable mention, like the Year Games, Ben Affleck and Charlize Theron. Yeah, with this movie, it's like I don't expect too many people to actually like it, but I just always I don't know, like I watched it one day and I was just like it did the job, like it got me.
I think you're right. A lot of people 20 people aren't gonna agree with you on that. I watched that movie one time because the trailer looked so awesome, and it, the only good part in that movie is the part from the trailer when they shooting up the pond with the machine gun. But I saw it once, and it's funny. Stars used to give us a lot of weekends for free.
Like free.
Yeah, and I saw it off of Stars, and I just was like, man, trust me, this is gonna be I tricked my cousin into watching it. This is gonna be a nice action movie or whatever. So at an early age, I was in that camp, like people who didn't like Ben Affleck or whatever. But nah, like for me, nah, I'm okay. I just remember good music being in that movie, like for Christmas movies or whatever. It had some like, some like blues and stuff like that. But I'm straight. What I'm actually gonna do for my honorable mentions, excuse me. I'm counting every Shane Black movie ever made that had something to do with Christmas, which is, I think, all of them, if not most. But Shane Black films, he's my probably third favorite writer in Hollywood. But Long Kiss Goodnight, I think that movie's amazing, great action, 90s action film. Kiss Kiss.
You know what? I still seen it.
If you get a chance, Hope, it's Christmas. Like, watch it. I think you'll like it. If you look at it from the eyes of, hey, this was the 90s, it's actually really good. So, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Great. And if for those guys who haven't seen that movie, it's basically Tony. It's an Iron Man movie because that's the role that got him Iron Man. You know, I think Jon Favreau was lobbying for Robert Downey Jr. to play Iron Man because of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. So I think that movie's amazing. Lethal Weapon.
That's a good one. I mean, it's not, but at the same time, like if we have Die Hard on, if we have
it is though.
Yeah.
It takes place during Christmas. A lot of Christmas decorations, and his the staple of Shane Black, for no apparent reason, he makes his movies take place during Christmas. So this was like the first one that made him a household name, and the Christmas themes in that movie weren't by mistake. Like for some reason, he thinks movies are better around Christmas time. So, and another one that I put, it's the Christmas movie. I put Iron Man 3. It's Shane Black. It doesn't work well for an MCU film, but I'll say it again. If you watch it as a Christmas movie, it's a pretty darn good movie. So, that's my Shane Black list. Another one that I had on here was Gremlins. Steven Spielberg. I think a lot of people just forget. This movie's very simple, but watching it as a kid, I just remember this movie being scary, just being enjoyable, being very humorous when I watched it, and it still holds up. You know, they're definitely puppets, but I mean, the story itself.
No, as a kid, like I made sure I stay away from that because I knew I would have nightmares. Like,
yeah, it's funny watching it now. I'm like, how was I ever scared of this? Because I've watched that movie from like when I was like 3 up to like now, and I didn't get it till I was a teenager. Those monsters were pretty funny. I just always, that's how I feel about A Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I never got how Freddy was doing jokes because I was like, as a kid, I was just horrified of him. But when I look back, I'm like, oh, he's comedic. But Gremlins is like that too. It's not the best movie, but they're coming out with a part 3, so we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
Any more guilty pleasures, Hope?
I'm trying to think. I like the I don't know the exact name, but you know the movie with what's his guy? The guy that turns into Santa Claus.
Guess why I asked you that? Because I have a guilty pleasure. Santa Claus. You talking about Tim Allen?
Yeah.
Buzz?
I actually like.
I watched the last.
I think I watched the whole trip, all 3 of them. Like
I watched all 3. I don't like all 3.
Yeah, the first
I like
one's the best
first one. But I thought it was it's pretty funny. You know, like it's for kids and to this day, when I spell Santa Claus, for some reason I make a mistake and my phone has to correct me because I always put an E at the end because I learned.
But yeah,
I didn't learn how to spell it from that movie, but that movie's so ingrained in me that I always put an E after Santa Claus. And it wasn't until like 3 years ago when I realized, oh wow, I've been spelling Santa Claus on research papers and this is probably wrong. But you know, because they made a joke about how the clause, like how a legal contract and stuff like that. But every year when I kick off my Christmas movie, you know, marathon, I always kick it off with I start the Harry Potter movies in November, but because those are Christmas movies too, believe it or not. I really start off the core Christmas movies with Santa Claus. It's always the first one to like kick off the countdown.
And I'm probably gonna watch it again this year.
I don't hear anybody say anything bad about it, but for some reason, it's just one of those movies that I know I'm not supposed to say out loud that I like it. Another movie that I don't. Well, it's one person in particular that I heard pick at it on YouTube, but even it seemed like they were just having fun. But this next movie though, a lot of people don't like, and I'm ready to stand up for it. Because Jingle All the Way came out when I was a little kid, and as a little kid, I understood that it was a kid movie. And that movie was very popular when Tickle Me Elmo came out. So for me, it was based on my neighborhood because Tickle Me Elmo was that movie that, I don't know, it was just all over news. Like every kid wanted one. Not me, but I knew I couldn't get the stuff that I wanted because the lines were packed and like Tickle Me Elmo, people were like going crazy. And when they were going crazy over the Turbo Doll and Jingle All the Way, I'm like, wow, this reminds me of like what's going on in real life. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty sure they pull that. They pull from that whole dynamic or whatever. But I like Jingle All the Way. I think people have problems with it because, Arnold's so corny, but I think he works in corny movies like that, like Kindergarten Cop and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like going back, it's just like now I see like, okay, like there. But at the same time, like in certain spots or in certain movies, like he works. Like I don't know if this is one of them, but since you're advocating for it, maybe it might be.
A lot of, the reason I think this movie is so, because this is a guilty pleasure. Like you're not supposed to say this out loud or you get shot. But a lot of people have problems with this movie because not only does it have Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's actually one of the, he's one of the poster boys for action movies, but he's also one of the poster boys for like corny movies as well. And this movie also has a young Anakin Skywalker from Phantom Menace. And I think when you add both of them into the same movie, it's just too much cheese to go around. But shout out to The Real Deal with Bill McNeil. May he rest in peace. He was in there as well. I don't know if you ever watched News Radio, but one of my favorite comedy shows, and he was in there that movie as well. But I just don't want to say love because I'm embarrassed.
Wow.
But I love this movie. It's whatever. Yeah, no, it's actually if you stretched my list out to top, I want to say top 5. Jingle All the Way might be in there. As long as I'm able to count Home Alone 1 and 2 together, yeah. Like Jingle All the Way is like top 10 definitely. I'm not surprised if it sneaks into my top 5 because I saw that movie as a kid, and I still, whenever I watch Christmas movies that remind me of how I felt when I was a kid, and Die Hard, because that's not a kid movie, but yeah. So another comedies, just honorable mentions. You still haven't seen Bad Santa, and surprisingly, that's the episode that we missed. We were supposed to talk about Bad Santa last week. Do me a big favor and watch that movie when you get a chance, Hulk. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, because I always hear like
it's very vulgar though.
Yeah, that was the only thing that made me stay away from it. But
you know what? Stay away from it. I'm sorry. I don't want you having night. Yeah, my bad. I'm not supposed to recommend that to certain friends. And I saw it at our homeboy house. Gene's house or whatever. So when I saw it in high school, and it was me, him, PD, and Jerry, which is our close people in our circle or whatever. And when you watch it with a group on like Christmas, like not Christmas per se, but just December, it was hilarious. And Billy Bob Thornton, he got typecast for like that the next 3 years playing that same drunk guy who's mean to kids. And that movie is just hilarious because that was the first one he did it in. And I also put Elf as a comedic honorable mention as well. Anything like I'm probably gonna let us get like 3 more, and then we'll like leave it up for those guys to comment on Facebook. But let me hear some top, like your last 3 honorable mentions.
Because the thing is, I had Home Alone as one of my honorable mentions. It was
you
just
should
like,
be ashamed of yourself.
No, because I was debating for the longest between Home Alone and Die Hard. I did not want to put Die Hard because I was afraid you were not going to consider it a Christmas movie. But then the fact that you have it as number 1, like I was just like, okay, and I was good.
If you Google it and it shows up, it's a Christmas movie. You Google Christmas movies and Die Hard will pop up. It'll pop up. You don't have to scroll to the second page of Google to get to see Die Hard. So it's definitely a Christmas movie.
Another one that I was still debating was Edward Scissorhands. Like it takes place. Like it's always shown during Christmas, and then if you watch the movie, it definitely has some Christmas elements.
You know what I'm thinking? Because it's funny because I always look at Shane Black as the one that puts his movies in Christmas, but
Tim Burton, yeah,
Tim Burton used to do that too. Because the 2 honorable mentions I have are Batman Returns and Nightmare Before Christmas, and those are Tim Burton movies. So I'll let you count Edward Scissorhands. I remember the climax snowing. But can you confirm that it was? Did they have Christmas decorations?
I'm pretty
up?
sure. I'm like 99% sure.
Oh yeah, wasn't that his thing? Like
Yeah, he was cutting trees, ice,
and
all that stuff. Like he made it snow, like as like final finale. Yeah.
Yeah, that counts. That counts. Wow, a lot of people wouldn't count that as a Christmas movie. It definitely is.
Yeah,
though.
I'm glad you mentioned Batman Returns. I totally forgot about that. Like that definitely is. Yeah, like
now that's the one you need to remember. That's as actually people forget Michael Keaton was such a great Batman, and that's the movie that gets overlooked because people they hold Batman up with high regards because of the villain, Joker, Jack Nicholson. But both of those movies were solid. I saw part 2 first, and it's funny because you know how people always they used to hate WB because they started meddling with the directors on and it started back with the Batman movies, like when Richard Donner with Superman 2, he wanted to make a darker movie, and WB kept saying kids aren't gonna like that. It's funny because WB was right. I didn't like superhero movies because to me Superman wasn't good, and also I didn't like Batman because it was too realistic. And this is a 4-year-old Barry talking, right? But when I saw Batman Returns when I was like 2 years later, like when I was like 6 or something, and I was like, nah, I had to be older than that. I was probably like 10. But I was like, wow, I didn't know these movies were that good. They're a perfect mixture of dark and also the Christmas and also just action and some campiness there. So Batman Returns made me go back and watch Batman as a kid. So I love that first part 1 and part 2 as a 1-2 combo.
And then would be Miracle on 34th Street, and it's only because like I remember one time like I was bored and there was nothing else to watch on TV, and like up in New York, Jersey area, we call it WPIX, and then like they always hyped it up, always hyped it up. So I was just like, let me just sit and watch this old movie, and then like I actually liked it. I was just like, I see why it was considered a classic, back in the day. Like
way to sell it, but it's a classic, but it's one of those movies I saw once and I never saw again. You know the one movie I'm embarrassed to say I've never seen, and it's probably really good.
What?
And it's like, I don't know if it's because of culture, like the people around me just give it a hard time. But the last 3 years, I've been saying, I'm going to watch This Is a Wonderful Life. I'm going to watch it.
No, but that's the thing. I think we've been spoiled too, because I think in a way we have watched it, because I've only seen like the tail end. Like myself, I never like sat and watched thing. But if you look
that's
at like
the same way I am too. I haven't sat through it in its entirety. But when you look up top lists and stuff like that,
it's always there.
Yes, I'm like, and I felt the same way about Christmas Story for years. Like, I'm not watching that. What's wrong with you? But this year, I said it the last 2 years, but I'm gonna say it on the podcast so people hold me accountable and check up with me if you find a way to communicate to me to let me know. Hey, have you watched This Is a Wonderful Life, Couch? But I'm going to watch This Is a Wonderful Life, and Hulk's going to watch. No, he's not going to watch Bad Santa. All right, so I have chores to do, and Hulk doesn't.
No.
But give Hulk a movie to watch, guys. That'll be the question. Give Hulk a movie to watch that he hasn't named.
Couch, I just had one point. Like, if you look at like a lot of like the older sitcoms, like they spoof on It's a Wonderful Life. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always that episode where a character loses their job in the Christmas time, and then they get their job back. You know what I'm saying?
See, I didn't know they were spoofing it because I haven't seen the movie. I always thought they were copying off of Scrooge. But I'm like, I don't know.
But they do that too.
Yeah. So another one, last honorable mention for me is all the Harry Potter movies. Those movies count. So they always have that one scene. Yeah, if you look, they always have that one scene right before they have Christmas break at Hogwarts. And the first couple of years, Harry stayed at school, but there's always a big Christmas tree, always a big snow scene or whatever. But when you look up Christmas movies on some lists, Harry Potter does show up. So I watch that every Christmas, and ABC Family shows it every Christmas. So I know I'm not alone in that camp.
You're right on that.
Guys, it's about that time. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. Before you leave, if you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or wherever you go for your podcast. Don't let this be the last time we hear from you or you hear from us. Support the show by giving us a rating and a review on iTunes. It would really mean a lot. Also, join us next week. Make sure to like us on Facebook so that way you can find out what we're discussing next week. Check the show notes out to find where to find us weekly. It's Couch Tomato Films on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and Couch Tomato Film on Twitter. Other than that, happy holidays and peace.